scales are removed from Saul's eyes, and he's able to see, and he's able to start learning at that point. He's able to take what he already knows, and he spends time trying to learn more about God. A lot of time happens in this next small section. We see it just really quickly. We see Saul spent several days with the disciples in Damascus, and once he began to preach in the synagogue that Jesus is the Son of God. All those who heard him were astonished and asked, "Isn't he the man who raised havoc in Jerusalem?" Several days. Let's look a little bit closer at that. Let's turn to Galatians chapter 1. We're going to be looking at verses 13 through 18. Galatians chapter 1, verses 13 through 18. Things are told more than once. In this case, Saul's conversion is talked about at least 4 times. 3 times in Acts and once in Galatians. Galatians chapter 1, verse 13 says, "For you have heard of my previous way of life in Judaism, how intensely I persecuted the church of God and tried to destroy it. I was advancing in Judaism far beyond many Jews of my own age, and was extremely zealous for the traditions of my fathers. But when God, who set me apart from birth and called me by his grace, was pleased to reveal his Son in me, so that I might preach him among the Gentiles, I did not consult any man, nor did I go up to Jerusalem to see those who were apostles before I was, but I went immediately to Arabia, and later returned to Damascus. Then after," verse 18 to keep our, "then after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem." A few days was over 1,000 days. And in that time, in that 3 years, not only was he preaching in Damascus, but he was studying in Arabia. He was learning in Arabia. There are others who have had this sort of change and ability to proclaim to others, just like Lord Littleton. Have any of you heard of someone named C.S. Lewis? Next week we're going to watch the movie Prince Caspian. And C.S. Lewis grew up in the church, but he said when he came to confirmation, he was just doing it because his dad wanted him to. It wasn't something that he wanted to do. He actually became a devout atheist after that. And he was reading his book, Surprised by Joy. You read over and over again the books that he read, the studying that he did, and slowly you see his eyes be opened to joy, looking for that joy that is found in God alone. So much so that as he goes through, he has become, in our era, or in the 20th century, and even now through the movies of Narnia, a great proclaimer of the faith. Someone who once considered himself a devout atheist. Have any of you heard of Lee Strobel? Lee Strobel was a writer. And he, just like Lord Littleton, and just like C.S. Lewis, and just like Gilbert West, wanted to disprove Christianity. So he went about researching. He went about learning. He went about trying to disprove the gospel of Jesus Christ. And what happened? He wrote a book, The Case for Christ. Millions of copies have been sold. The Case for Christ is not against Christianity, it is for Christianity. He has since written additional books called The Case for Faith and A Case for Christmas. And I think he's also written A Case for Easter. Going back again to what Gilbert West did, talking about the resurrection. God uses these least likely people, these people who are so adamant against Christianity that they want to disprove it. And in so doing, he comes to be known in their lives. And like I said, C.S. Lewis, surprised by joy. Surprised by joy. All these people, starting with Saul, who we know as Paul. on the road to Damascus to destroy the church. And he has an encounter with God. Now, not all of us are Saul. Not all of us are Paul. Not all of us are C.S. Lewis. Not all of us are Lee Strobel or Gilbert West or Lord Littleton. Some of us get to grow up and have a faith as a small child. But these people have given us such gifts. God has given us gifts because of these people with their great education and their learning, able to explain things that we can't. Able to delve into things that we can't and reaching people that we never could. Millions of people have read C.S. Lewis's books. Millions of people have read Lee Strobel's books. And hundreds of millions, billions of people have read the words of Paul in every language imaginable. In every language imaginable. We have this hope. For each one of us and for our neighbors who we think there's no hope for, that there is this opportunity to be born again. To have a new life. And see, the thing about being born again, that last opportunity when somebody will come forward or say that prayer or make a public profession through baptism or confirmation, or however, getting in front of the church and telling everybody their story, what happens before that is seeds being planted in their lives. By people like you and I. Encounters that happen on the subway, on planes, in the grocery store, seeing little acts that we do and hoping on our part that their eyes are blinded to some of the bad things that we do. But God uses that opportunity to come forward. The one thing about the story being told 3 times is that there's little different nuances that come up each time. Acts chapter 22, verse 10 adds a really key question to that first question filling out in the bulletin, who are you? But 22, verse 10, what shall I do, Lord? Or as I have it in the bulletin, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Not just who are you, but what do you want me to do? Not just a head knowledge, because Paul, Lord Littleton, C.S. Lewis, Lee Strobel, those 4 great men of history could have just taken that knowledge and kept it to themselves. Say, great, you have changed my life. But God told them to go. God told them to make a difference. And for them, it was writing. And I'm sure in their everyday life, they've had opportunity after opportunity to meet up with people. And for us, we ask those same questions. We've asked that question, who are you? I want to know you, Lord. And then that second question, very important to us, is, now, Lord, what do I do? What do you want me to do? Amen.